Hey there, good to have you back and welcome to my new video. If you've been scrolling through the news or social media recently, you've probably noticed something. People in Britain are angry. The United Kingdom, once a symbol of democracy, free speech and stability, now finds itself divided like never before. In London, in Manchester, in Birmingham, people are taking to the streets. They are protesting against migration, against Islamization, and against their own government's so-called hate speech laws. Meanwhile, police are knocking on people's doors because of what they post on social media. A country that once championed liberty is now struggling with fear and censorship. How did it come to this, and who's really driving this new wave of radicalization? So, without further ado, let's jump right into today's topic: the radicalization in the United Kingdom. When the system starts to collapse. To understand today's anger, we need to look back. Since the refugee crisis of 2015, Britain's identity has changed dramatically. Hundreds of thousands came seeking safety, and with them came new cultures, new beliefs, and new divisions. In cities like Birmingham or Luton, entire districts have developed their own character shops, schools, mosques, communities living almost separately. For some, that's diversity. For others, it's the slow disappearance of a nation they once knew. And for many, it feels impossible to speak honestly about these changes without being accused of hate. Because in modern Britain, criticism itself has become dangerous. Posting the wrong meme or saying the wrong word can lead to a police visit. And this fear, this silencing is fueling the fire of public frustration. So let's talk about a few media effective events that have fueled the current debate in the UK. In 2025, 7 men were convicted in Rochdale for sexually exploiting underage girls between 2001 and 2006. Most of the perpetrators had Pakistani backgrounds. They lured vulnerable girls with alcohol, money, and drugs, using them in cars, apartments, even warehouses. Authorities had been warned many times but failed to act, reportedly out of fear of being called racist. The scandal became a turning point, a symbol of how political correctness can blind a system to the suffering of its own children. In 2015, 15-year-old Kaylee Haywood met a man on Facebook. He invited her over, gave her alcohol, and soon after, she was attacked and murdered by his neighbor. The tragedy shocked Britain and revealed how grooming had evolved from the streets to the screens. In 2018, a viral video showed a Syrian refugee student in Huddersfield being violently assaulted by classmates. Pinned to the ground, the attacker poured water over his face, saying, "I'll drown you." It exposed the depth of anger running through British schools, a reflection of the wider tension in society itself. In 2023, 16-year-old Brianna Gay was stabbed to death by 2 teenagers in a Warrington park. She was transgender, and while investigators described the crime as sadistic and hateful, the deeper issue was clear. A generation growing up online, isolated, angry, and increasingly radicalized. Radicalization in Britain isn't just political or religious. It's cultural, digital, and deeply personal. The murder of Brianna Gay wasn't about ideology in the traditional sense. It was about something darker, a generation growing up online, isolated, desensitized, and lost between identity wars and social alienation. Between 1997 and 2013, more than 1,400 girls were sexually exploited in Rotherham. Most of the offenders were part of organized groups of men with immigrant backgrounds. Local authorities ignored repeated warnings, fearing accusations of racism. For many Britons, this scandal destroyed their trust in the government. It proved that political correctness could come at the cost of justice itself. In recent years, dozens of Britons have faced police action not for violence, but for words. In September 2025, blogger Pete North from Yorkshire was arrested after sharing a picture that read "Fuck Hamas, fuck Palestine, fuck Islam." Police raided his home and accused him of distributing material intended to stir racial hatred. North filmed his own arrest asking officers if they even knew who Hamas was. One replied, "No idea." He was released without charges, but the video went viral, sparking outrage across the country. According to a European Parliament report, over 12,000 people in the UK are arrested every year for offensive online communication. Many of these cases end with no conviction, but that's not the point. The fear remains. People start to self-censor, afraid of a knock on the door just for expressing an opinion. A democracy where people are too afraid to speak isn't a democracy at all. Few names divide Britain like Tommy Robinson. Born Stephen Yaxley Lennon in Luton, he rose to fame as founder of the English Defence League, a movement against Islamist extremism. To his supporters, he's a patriot speaking hard truths. To his critics, a dangerous agitator fueling hate. Robinson has been arrested multiple times, banned from social media, and portrayed by mainstream outlets as a far-right extremist. But every attempt to silence him only made him more influential, especially online. In 2025, his movement reached its peak with the massive Unite the Kingdom march in London. Over 100,000 people filled the streets. They came waving flags, chanting for freedom, for sovereignty, for the right to speak. Robinson called it a peaceful protest, but as clashes broke out, 25 people were arrested and dozens of officers injured. Afterwards, Robinson shared photos of bloodied protesters with the caption, "This is what happens when you tell the truth." He's not alone. At that same event, Polish MEP Dominik Tarczynski took the stage, declaring, "If you lose your identity, you lose your country." And Britain is on the edge. Dutch activist Eva Vladingerbroek later voiced her support, describing a new generation of Europeans who refuse to apologize for defending their culture. Her words spread across social media like wildfire. Through these alliances, Robinson has turned his movement into a transnational network connecting populist politicians, intellectuals, and online influencers across Europe. Together, they argue they're standing up for freedom. Critics, however, see something else. A global echo chamber where fear and identity politics feed each other until compromise becomes impossible. Britain stands at a crossroads, between freedom and control, between democracy and censorship, between fear and fury. One side says they're defending their country, the other says they're protecting humanity. But if both sides keep shouting, who's left to listen? So, what do you think? Is Britain witnessing a justified revolt or the beginning of something far more dangerous? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you want to see more insights like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.